Your body weight shouldn't be the only thing that you're measuring if you're trying to lose weight. Personally, I think we should always be taking an inputs over outputs approach where we're focusing on those inputs. But what outputs should you be measuring when it comes to your physical body composition? You're not always going to be able to use the scale. In the last round of the consistency games, we had someone join who couldn't use the scale, so she had to use these other two measures, but they're just as good and actually help to build a bigger picture around what's going on. So in a perfect world, you'd actually be measuring all three of these things: the scale and the other two that I'm about to talk through. Now, first off, we're going to take some body measurements. The key areas that I would recommend are going to be your waist and your hips. The reason for this is that we can use them as a proxy for health and looking at your overall body fat levels. Your waist measurements in particular are really useful for thinking about your visceral fat, which is just fat around your organs. And the more fat you have around your organs, generally the higher risk you are of other problems when it comes to your body. We want to make sure that your waist measurements are roughly half that of your height. We can also use that to measure your waist to hip ratio. If you take your waist circumference and divide it by your hip circumference, you'll get a number. For women, we want that to be under 0.85. You can track these changes over time, and that can give you a really good idea of if your body composition is changing independent of the scales. And improvement in these markers is actually a really good sign of improving your overall metabolic and bodily health. So the next thing that you want to think about is using progress photos. These are really useful because sometimes the scales don't move, but your body does change. And that can help to build a bigger story, especially if you're resistance training. It can show you the increases in muscle mass that you've got, which again is absolutely fantastic for overall health. So by having measures outside of the scales, it just means that you can look at what's actually important, your overall health, and not just the number on the scales. We don't need you to hit a certain weight, we need you to be healthy. And if you're reducing your overall waist circumference, if you're increasing the amount of muscle mass that you've got, and you're just generally feeling better in yourself, and you feel like you are looking better, and you are perceiving that you are looking better within yourself, great, we've done it, we're on track. It doesn't matter necessarily what the number on the scale says, or at least it's not worth getting hung up on it. Now, we will use the scale weight, we will use your measurements, and we will use photos in the next round of the consistency games to track your progress. The next round is starting on Monday the 4th of May. Spaces go live to the priority list on April the 28th at 7 p.m. If you want to join the priority list, just hit the link in my bio.